This is a podcast by the Straits Times.
Hello and welcome to Pop Vultures, a pop culture podcast by the Straits Times. My name is Jen Lee, and today we are talking about the thing that everybody has been talking about, which is the Wang Leehom saga. This is basically the story of how Taiwanese-American singer Wang Leehom, who's very, very popular and very, very famous, got destroyed in 4 days. Okay, 20 years career down the drain in 4 days. And we're going to get all into it and what happened, okay? So come along for the ride if you don't know what happened, and if you know what happened and still want to hear me get into the nitty-gritty of it all. All right, so let's get started. Just a brief introduction of who Wang Leehom is. He's, as I established, a Taiwanese-American singer. I would say like he was really, really popular in the early 2000s and / like maybe 2010s. He's of the same era-ish as I would say Jay Chou, but actually Wang Leehom debuted about 5 years before Jay Chou, 95. But the era in which they were very active is about the same as the early 2000s. And Wang Leehom has like a few songs that are very, very, very famous, like Forever Love, Wei Yi, which is I think called the one and only in English. 你不知道的事, things that you don't know, you know, all of these things have become memes in the wake of what has happened. All right, so what exactly did happen? So today I will get into, I'll just tell everyone like what happened with a timeline, and I'm gonna just like preface this here, which is that I'm gonna try and do this condensed and quick, but because a lot of things have happened in the past, I would say 4 days. So as much as I try to condense it, it's still going to be quite meaty lah, okay? And then I will get into exactly why, right, this whole thing got so bad and got so much attention, you know, and what Wang Leehom means as an idol, like his image as an idol throughout the years, and also like all the legitimately bad PR moves that he made that I like from like a point of view of a person who's covering this news like as a journalist, and also just like even my friends who aren't journalists, my friends who are just like, you know, people who are interested in celebrity gossip, they're also like, wow, these are legitimately bad moves that like it's surprising how bad it is, given that he's been in the industry for so many years. And then finally we'll wrap up a little bit on like what are the lessons to learn here, you know, from this saga as fans and consumers of entertainment idols and products, and also, you know, in a PR sense, I think, for other celebrities as well. All right, so let's get into it. What happened? Okay, basically, Wang Leehom has been married for about 8 years to his wife, who is not from the industry. Her name is Lee Jinglei. So we get these two names straight. Okay, Wang Leehom, Lee Jinglei, because they're going to come out a lot of times. Okay, so another thing is Lee Jinglei is half Japanese. So she is also known by her Japanese name, Michiko Nishimura. And this will also come up later. So Wang Leehom, Lee Jinglei, who is aka Michiko Nishimura. Okay? Done. Okay, so these two people are the central the central anchor to this whole saga, okay? And what happened is Wang Leehom said on Wednesday that he's divorcing Lee Jinglei after 8 years, and he came out like he basically confirmed there were some rumors that they were getting divorced, and Wang Leehom like confirmed it fairly quickly on Wednesday, and he said, you know, he put out a very, very short statement which was like, Jinglei and I live a very pure, very simple life, and I hope the public will give us some space, and you know, I've had things that were inadequate about me during my marriage and things like that. Very standard kind of celebrity divorce response, right? And just for context here, I would like to say that Lee Jinglei is not from the entertainment industry, but she is not unknown because firstly, when they announced that they were getting married, it was quite a big deal. Like 8 years ago in 2013, when they announced they were getting married, it was pretty big news, and she sort of like came out of nowhere. And but the thing is, post marriage, right? She has been pretty active on social media, so like she would post stuff with her and the kids, Wang Leehom and her will post things about them, like hosting events, like hosting Christmas parties at their house and so on. So even though she's not from the entertainment industry, she's not reclusive. Like, you know how she looks like, you know her face, you know she's Wang Leehom's wife, you know. So she's like plays the part of famous wife very well. Okay, that's the context. So let's get into the timeline. As I mentioned, Wednesday is when Wang Leehom confirmed the divorce from Lee Jinglei. And then in between Wednesday to Friday, which is when things really happen, guys. In between Wednesday to Friday, there was some stuff about like, rumors of like Lee Jinglei and Wang Leehom's mom not getting along. You know, they had some like mother-in-law, daughter-in-law problems. And then there were rumors that Wang cheated on Lee Jinglei with Singaporean twin pop duo Baidu singer Yumi Bai. And she will come back into the story later, but let's put a pin in that for now, and then we will move on, okay, to Friday, which is when things got really bad. And guys, this happened on Friday night, like near midnight. And truly, it has, I believe I speak for all East Asian entertainment journalists when I say that Lee Jinglei single-handedly took the weekend away from us. But you know what? It's worth it. It was a lot of information, and it was very, very intense and very juicy, and everybody is like mesmerized and fascinated by this. Basically, what happened on Friday night is Lee Jinglei went scorched earth, okay, on her ex-husband Wang Leehom. She put out a 9-page, near 5,000 word expose. It was written entirely Mandarin. Near 5,000 word expose on Wang Leehom and the various misdeeds that he committed during their marriage. It's very long, so I'm gonna highlight to you some of what she mentioned, her allegations. So firstly, she says that Lee Jinglei and Wang Leehom are 10 years apart, okay? So right now she's 35 and Wang Leehom is 45. And they got married 8 years ago. So I would say that was about when Lee Jinglei was about 26, 27 maybe, 28, about there. And then, okay, so what she accuses Wang Leehom of. Firstly, she says that he wooed her when she was 16 and underage, which I think there is proof because quite a while back, like even before, years before they got married, there was already some sort of paparazzi sighting between him and Lee Jinglei, who was then known as Michiko Nishimura, Michi. So it's true that they knew each other from a very, very long time ago. So this is like quite well-known public knowledge. So he wooed her when, she says he wooed her when she was 16 and underage, and wooed her even when he had other girlfriends. Like, he asked for her number, he called her pretty, which, guys, that's kind of inappropriate to do to an underage person, especially when you are 26. And then she says that after all this like back and forth courtship, they became intimate. But when they woke up the next morning, he told her he didn't want a relationship. I would like to preface by saying that when they slept together, when they became intimate, it's a bit hazy because she didn't give she said afterwards, after he started wooing her. So we don't know how many years might have passed in between or how many months or whatever. So I don't know whether it was when she was 16 that this happened, but she's saying that, when she was young, when she was pretty young and pretty naive, and they slept together, and then he didn't want to be her boyfriend. Okay, so next allegation, she says that Wang Leehom and his family forced her to sign an unfair prenuptial agreement to protect his assets, like his financial assets, because at that point when they got married, Wang Leehom had already been famous for maybe almost 20 years. So he has a lot of money by that time. He had earned all his money by that time. And she says that it's okay if he wants to protect the assets that he earned pre-marriage, but she feels that post-marriage, the money that they earn is like the fruits of both their labor, and she feels that she was not given she was not treated fairly lah. And then she says that his family always suspected her of taking advantage of him, so they were always very mean to her, blah, blah, blah. And then she also said that Wang Leehom urged her to keep having children because he really likes kids, and she really loved him, and she also wanted a family, so she kept giving birth. And it's true that she did get pregnant and give birth to 3 kids in the span of 5 years, which like I've never had children. I know people who have had children, and they tell me that it legitimately is a ordeal on the body, right? So having kids is a very intense experience, it really takes a lot out of you physically. So having 3 kids in a span of 5 years is it's a pretty intense thing for a woman to do. And then, of course, we come to the juicy bits. She alleges that he cheated on her multiple times throughout the marriage by having a lot of friends with benefits relationships. She says that some of these relationships began before they even got married and just continued on, right? And she says that when they were nebulously dating / not dating, like after they slept together, and then Wang Leehom said he doesn't want to be her boyfriend, like he doesn't want a relationship. She says that she found out that he had a lot of this sort of arrangements throughout different cities. And then she also says that he solicited prostitutes frequently throughout their marriage and kept a log of the prostitutes' traits, like the different traits that they have. It's a bit confusing what she means, but I think it's physical traits. And she says like some of these prostitutes like resemble the staff who work for them, so she felt very uncomfortable. She also says that he forced her to get a divorce, even though she was like, fine, go out and sleep with people, I don't care, as long as I don't want to divorce you, I still want like our children to have a whole family and everything. So she was like, whatever, like, okay, do whatever you want. So she says like she washed her hands off him, let him go out and play, but he still wanted to get a divorce, and he forced her to get a divorce. And his reasoning was that he didn't want to, like, next time he fall in love with a woman, right, and then to have her be called a mistress because they're still married. And she was like, no, I don't want to divorce you. And apparently when she refused to divorce him, he verbally bullied her and humiliated her until she finally agreed to divorce. She also says that he's an absent father who has missed a lot of special occasions and a lot of his kids' milestones. So for context, they have 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. The 2 daughters are the first 2 children. So the son's the youngest, and they're aged 3 to 7. At the end of the post, she made a vague reference to Wang's homosexuality rumors, which we'll get into because for a bit, Wang Leehom was rumored to be gay. And there's a vague reference to his sexuality. She says, like, I hope you can be honest with yourself and live life free from society's judgment and be with someone who is right for you. Which seems very pointed given that everybody knows about Wang Leehom's gay rumors. So, okay, that's what happened on Friday night. Then, of course, all of this build up, right? Everybody was like, what? Oh my God, what? Friday, Saturday, everybody was like, what's going on, And everyone was like up in arms, going crazy. Netizens were just like, this dominated like Twitter and like Weibo, and everybody was talking about it. But throughout all of this, Wang Leehom kept quiet. Finally, on Sunday, and Sunday I separate daytime and nighttime because got a lot of things happen on Sunday. So Sunday daytime, early in the day, we finally got something from Wang Leehom's camp, but it was not from Wang Leehom himself. It was from Wang Leehom's dad. Wang Leehom is 45, so his dad is pretty old. So his dad's like maybe in his 80s and is based in the US, which, Wang Leehom is American. Actually, his wife is also American, if I'm not wrong, but I think she grew up in Taiwan or something like that. I'm a bit unclear on that. Anyway, Wang Leehom's dad responded, and it was such a weird response because it was like he wrote a handwritten letter, and then he took a photograph. There was like somebody who took a photograph of the dad with the 2 pieces of paper that he wrote on. It was just very weird. It was some weird hostage looking like photos. Although I'm sure the dad wrote it willingly and voluntarily. But basically the dad's response is this, that Lee forced her way into marrying Wang when she got pregnant. She threatened to ruin his career if he did not marry her. He alleges that Wang Leehom led a hellish life the entire time he was married to Lee because she's such a, she's scheming and she threatens him, blah, blah, blah. Says that she wants a lot of money and says that Wang Leehom did not cheat on his wife. Very, very, very quickly, Lee Jinglei responded. And Lee Jinglei responds on like both Weibo and like Instagram at the same time. So like across the world, everybody got to see this. So Lee responded very, very swiftly and said, she basically was like, I can't believe that you are pushing your dad out to like shield you from the fallout. Like, I can't believe you're making your dad put out a statement instead of replying me yourself. And then she said that it's untrue lah. Whatever Wang's dad said is untrue. Says that Wang Leehom wanted to have children. He didn't use protection when they got intimate, and that she got pregnant lah. And then said that his family actually asked her to abort the child at first, and she was very shocked. And that in the end, Wang Leehom chose to start a family with her by getting married. So she's trying to say that she didn't force him, that he voluntarily entered the marriage. And then says that they had happy moments throughout their marriage. She says, like, why would we have 3 kids if Wang Leehom was truly so unhappy in his marriage with me? And then she ended the letter by saying, like, excuse me, why would Wang Leehom's dad know whether Wang Leehom cheated or solicited prostitutes, as if he would let you know, which is a very good point. But yes, that's what she said. And then she asked for an apology by 3 p.m. that day, so on Sunday, or she'll sue for defamation. Deadline passed with no apology. What happened instead was that at night, and again, guys, this is Sunday, Sunday after 11:30 p.m., this thing came out. So honestly, all East Asian entertainment reporters heaved a huge sigh of like resignation when this happened, because it was like, okay, we're gonna work through the night, which is what happened to me. I worked until like 2 plus, I think, because I was like, I'm gonna have to write this and put it out the next morning. So Wang finally responds after 2 days of silence. He says that he was, again, it's like, I think maybe 4 pages of response. And then he also had like attached some emails and some like legal documents that looked like it related to their divorce. So he claims he was never unfaithful. He claims he was coerced into marrying Lee, who got pregnant very shortly after they started dating. He was very happy about the child, but said that they were not at the point where they were discussing marriage, and she threw a tantrum, threatened to disappear with the baby if he never married her, said that they went to marriage counseling, in which Lee says like, oh, I'll ruin you if, blah, blah, blah. So he says that there's proof of of her threatening him in their marriage counseling conversation. Says they went to different marriage counselors and it never worked out. Then on the point that they met when she was 16, right? He admits that they first met in 2003, which I think that would have meant Lee Jinglei was 16 or 17 at that time. So it says that they first met in 2003, lost touch for 10 years in between. He attached 2 emails to this to prove his point. I will get to that later. The emails were bad, but it says that they first met in 2003, lost touch for 10 years, then they got back in touch, and that's how they started talking again. And says that he gave her a lot of money and a lot of benefits post-divorce. In fact, he actually outlined how much money he gave her, which is, I think, he says they agreed on about 150 million renminbi, 150 million yuan for her post-divorce settlement. Says that she still wants more, and says that he cannot see his children. Like, he begged her to let him see the kids, which implies that he's not seeing the kids. Okay. Then you would think like this one happened at like 11:30 something, so maybe the next update will come in the morning, right? I can go sleep first, right? Nope. Lee Jinglei responded so fast, just immediate response at like, I think it was maybe 1 a.m. So it was barely even 2 or 3 hours after Wang Leehom's statement came out. Then Lee Jinglei immediately fired back with the now famous "nice try" post, because she said it in her post. She was like, "Nice try," and she was okay. There's a lot of stuff in here, but it's basically like some reiteration of him cheating. A little bit more details on when they met and what happened when they first started dating. And she rebutted him on the money bits, the bits that because Wang Leehom posted some bits of a divorce settlement in which it says like they own a joint investment account, which is like US $15 million. Says that they co-own a Bel Air property in California, which is valued at about I think 12 million USD. And she's rebutted him by saying that if you look at that document carefully, it says like this were jointly owned assets. And she's trying to say like these things are things that I already owned with, I already own. Like these are things that are not part of the divorce settlement, but rather assets that they already individually owned, like individually assigned to them pre-divorce due to business interests, and not because they got divorced and then Wang Leehom has to give it to her. So she says like, this is already stuff that I was going to get anyway. And then she also says that their marriage counselor, so she says like they changed marriage counselor several times, right? And said like the therapist actually caused, and this gets into like some mental health stuff. Their therapist calls Wang Leehom like a sex addict who has narcissistic personality disorder, who gaslights Lee. So she talked about that a little bit. And then in the morning, so not 1 a.m. So like when she woke up and then had some time to settle her own thoughts, she wrote another post lah. And then this one was a little bit more on like his emotional manipulation tactics, like how Wang Leehom like gaslighted her and emotionally manipulated and mentally abused her and so on, blah blah blah. And then this all finally came to an end on Monday noon when Wang Leehom finally apologized to his wife, to his children, to his parents, and said he would take responsibility and says he will quit showbiz for the time being.
Now, if you're enjoying this episode of Pop Vouchers so far, do find us on the hashtag Pop Vouchers Podcast channel. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Just look for hashtag Pop Vouchers. Now, some of our episodes are on YouTube as well, so do check those out. Like and rate us. Now, back to our show. Let us continue with Pop Vouchers.
Okay, now that we've gotten into all of that, and there are actually more things to this because there is Vivian Xu involved, Yumi Bai is involved, and I've not talked about those yet. I will talk about it later. But now that we know like the gist or like the brief timeline over the past 4 days, right, all the events that took place, I'll just like to get into like, why did this get the amount of attention it got and how it got so bad so quickly, right? So I think firstly on why it was such a big news, right? I think in some ways it's even more explosive than say like the show law expose, which we also talked about in one of our episodes a while back. I think that was in 2020. He also got exposed by his ex-girlfriend Grace Chow for being like for being a womanizer, like basically for cheating on her multiple times throughout their 9-year relationship. But I think this one is like significantly worse because Wang Leehom has always had a very, very like squeaky clean, quality idol kind of image, right? So, I mean, like, if you were around in the early 2000s and you remember like Wang Leehom, during his like peak era, right? During his peak like music making era, he was always like a dude that everybody thought was a good boy. Like literally that's his image because he came from a very good family. He speaks English very well, very bilingual. He went to a good school, which I think is Berkeley School of Music, if I'm not wrong. He's just like thought of as a very good boy, like thought of as a very clean, healthy image kind of idol. The quintessential 别人家的孩子, the kind that you will get compared to one because they're so perfect, their grades so good, everything about them very good. That type of image. And he really doesn't have any like major scandals prior to this. And I think the closest he ever got to like controversy was just his homosexuality rumors. So he was rumored to be in a homosexual relationship with Chinese pianist Lee Jinglei, who also, by the way, in a twist of fate, recently got arrested for soliciting prostitutes. So okay, I guess they are both they are bonded in their joint downfall, I guess. It's also very weird, the Lee Jinglei thing, because they were they were rumored to be together. Like people were like shipping them, right? Like there were people like, oh my god, they're so cute together, that kind on the internet. And Wang actually has repeatedly said that he's very uncomfortable with being rumored to be with men because he's straight. So it's like very defensive the way he says it. And then he also they also announced, so Wang Leehom and Lee Jinglei both announced their girlfriends on the same day in 2013, and both their girlfriends supposedly came from Columbia University. So it was very weird. It was like they were rumored to be together, and on the same day they announced their relationships with other women who happened to be classmates, I guess. it was very odd. Anyway, yeah, so as I said, like, he really doesn't have major scandals. So it's really a bombshell because, like, people like Sholo, right? For the longest time, like, Sholo has not had, like, a great rap. I mean, even if it wasn't, like, about womanizing, right? There's a lot of stuff that Sholo has done that has not endeared him to the public. Like, he apparently like didn't go to the funeral of one of his mentors and instead went for a movie premiere or something with Stephen Chow or something like that. So like for a long time, Sholo has had some negative vibes surrounding him, you know, and his public image is just not as good as Wang Leehom. But Wang Leehom is different. Wang Leehom is like 45 and he debuted in 1995, right? So it's like maybe 26 years. He really has had very, very few like major scandals. Like most people don't think of him as like an unhealthy or person. You don't hear rumors of him. So it's shocking, right? It's like truly shocking that he's like, oh, he's a person who solicits prostitutes. He cheats on his wife multiple times. He's an absent father. All of this is so far apart from the public image that he has built up over all these years, the public goodwill that he has accumulated over all these years. It also got very bad because there was evidence. So there was evidence of so before the bombshell expose dropped on Friday, there was like photos that came out of him and Yumi like sort of behaving intimately at a party. I think it's a bit unverified when this exactly happened. I think some say 2015, some say 2013. And basically it says that like, oh, Yumi was very into him and was very upset when he got married, and he only wanted to be like her friends with benefit. And yeah, like, you know, he cheated on his wife with Yumi and so on. And this post came out, right, alleging all of these things happened. And then Yumi and Wang Leehom swiftly came out to deny it. And then when the bombshell thing dropped on Friday, a lot of it fit with what Lee Jinglei posted, because the whole thing about him wanting to only be friends with benefits fits with what Lee Jinglei says. The whole thing about you know, she mentioned that like, oh, you know, somebody will send you photos of herself naked on your birthday and you will like respond so enthusiastically. Also fit with the rumors that came out about Yumi that she tried to win Wang Leehom back. Like she was very into him and she even sent him nudes of herself. Like, so it sort of fit with what Lee Jinglei say. Of course, to be cynical, you know, maybe Lee Jinglei saw what was posted and worked that into her expose. We don't know, you know, of course, like none of us have the exact details of what happened here. And then it also got really bad because of all the other celebrities who were involved. So as I said, Yumi was involved and Yumi also released a statement, right? I didn't put it in just now in the timeline because I wanted to focus only on Wang Leehom and his wife. But Yumi also put out a statement, I think it's also on Sunday, and she said that she basically admitted to dating Wang. Like she said she dated him before he married Lee in 2012 and was informed that he's seeing someone new in 2013, and she was really upset when it happened, blah, blah, blah. But the screenshots that she gave, right, of the chats that she had with Wang Leehom, it sounded really weird because it was like she claims that they broke up when Wang Leehom like told her he's seeing somebody else. But the screenshot was literally Wang Leehom saying like, hey, I'm seeing someone new. I thought I should let you know. And then she replied, congrats, which doesn't sound like a breakup at all. She was like, oh, congrats, I heard. So it was just like, it's very weird. It doesn't sound like a breakup. It sounds like what Lee Jinglei is saying. It sounds like they were in some sort of an arrangement for, you know, intimate behavior, but they are not involved, like committed, like they're not in a committed or exclusive relationship. Like it kind of sounds like somebody giving you a heads up, like, hey, by the way, I'm getting married, so maybe let's not do this anymore or something like that, right? So it was very weird. But Yumi's statement also came out, and it only made things worse for Wang Leehom because this is another woman saying that yes, I was involved with him and he got married and didn't tell me until very late. So it was like, you know, this kind, it was bad, okay? And then it also involved other celebrities like Vivian Xu. Vivian Xu, by the way, is a huge name, okay? Vivian Xu also, in case you don't know who she is, she's a singer actress, very, very popular in the 90s and early 2000s. She came out very early. So she made her debut super, super early. So she has been like working in entertainment since she was like a teenager. And Vivian Xu again is one of those women with like, after she got married, she has a very, very good mother, good wife kind of image, because she had a high risk pregnancy at I think 40, so she needed to like stay like in bed for like on bed rest for like months on end when she was pregnant to make sure that she could give birth to her baby healthily. And oh, by the way, I think her husband is actually based in Singapore. I think she actually married a Singaporean businessman. So her baby was like born in Singapore and everything. So like people think of her as like a very devoted mother, and people think of her as a very devoted wife, because there was rumors that her husband was going through like financial troubles and she was helping him pay off his debts or something like that. So there were like rumors about that. But then in the Lee Jinglei expose, right, she doesn't mention Vivian Xu by name at all. But she mentions that Wang Leehom used to have a friends with benefits relationship with a woman who is now married with children. She just said like married and with a kid. She didn't specify how many kids. She just said like she has kids. And then said that they used to be in a friends with benefits relationship, and then Lee Jinglei is very uncomfortable with it, but Wang Leehom insists on inviting her to their home anyway, and they both lie to the husband about their history together, and that this woman continues to act very flirtatiously and very seductively towards Wang Leehom even after he got married. So she's very uncomfortable, and then said like, and this is the punchline, and she said that you even, so she was addressing Wang Leehom, you even like rush to her home to see her when it's against the rules. In September, Wang Leehom was caught going to Vivian Xu's house for a gathering, and that gathering breached COVID-19 rules because Wang Leehom had 14-day quarantine period, and then he was supposed to have a period of observation for another 7 days. So he was not supposed to actually go out and meet other people for another 7 days. But immediately after the quarantine ended, he went to Vivian Xu's house. They posted photos. It was him, Vivian Xu, it was Fan Weiqi, Fan, and Hei Ren. Like, it was like a few celebrities gathering. So because she mentioned that line, she could have taken that line out. She could have not mentioned it, but she mentioned it, and it's very, very obvious, right? If you mention that line, everybody would think that that's who you're talking about, right? So she's talking about Vivian Xu, right? So everybody immediately made the link. And then Vivian Xu had to come out and be like, no, this is all false. I've never been unfaithful to my husband. I urge Mr. Wang to come out and clarify these rumors. So it just got worse because there were other famous people involved. And I think most importantly, why it got so bad is because Lee Jinglei is on fire, man. Like, she legit on fire, yo. Respect, mad respect. Like, look, I don't know if everything she said is true. I really don't know. No, none of us know. None of us know how true all her allegations are. But what I can say is she is very composed and very well articulated. This expose is one of the better written ones I've ever read, like in my history of reading celebrity gossip and exposes, right? Firstly, right, she brought up a point that I think made a lot of women empathize with her, which is the idea that the stay-home mothers and their labor is not being recognized and they don't have as much say in the family. And I think a lot of women can empathize with that, especially a lot of women who, you don't even need to be a stay-home mom. If you work and then you also carry the bulk of child rearing duties at home, then I think you can sort of empathize with the idea that taking care of the children is a real job. It's a chore. It's a very, very tiring job. I have nieces and nephew, and look, man, I didn't even give birth to them, and it's like I see my mom and my sister take care of them. I'm like, wow, like, it's intense, okay? Like, children are like, you cannot take your eyes away from them. So even if you're not the one bringing home the money, even if you're not the one out there singing and holding concerts, you are the one holding the fort at home, and you have made it. If you hold the fort down well at home, if you keep the kids engaged and well educated and take good care of them and feed them and everything and bathe them, that is a full job. And doing that has allowed your husband to go outside and earn money. So I think the idea that she brings up that a lot of women are not recognized for their labor as mothers, for their labor as homemakers, I think that thing really it inspired, I think, a lot of public empathy and sympathy with her, right? Because she is, in fact, a stay-home mom. She might be a very as you can tell from the divorce settlement and the supposed legal documents involved, she might be someone who's very rich, but she's also a stay-home mom. And those struggles in some sense are universal lah. And she also brought up, she is also very, I think, fairly like logical. I mean, I would say that her expose was pretty emotional, but sometimes people get emotional, they get very angry, and then they become incoherent. It never felt incoherent. So it was very clear what she was trying to say. So she brought up very specific points that he cheated on her. She brought up examples, and she didn't get super graphic, but she gave enough details for you to be disgusted with Wang Leehom, for you to feel disgusted, regardless of, again, these are all allegations, we don't know what's true and what's not. But she brought in just the right amount of details, right? And then she talked about meeting Wang Leehom as a 16-year-old, which, as like, if you're an adult and you're looking at this, I think any adult who's like a reasonable, non-pedophile person would agree that you should not be hitting on 16-year-olds. So that one is really very hard to rebut. And then she also just brought in, as I said, she brought in these details, right, that very successfully made you, they were very quiet, but they were bombshells. Like the thing about you rushed to meet her even though it was against the rules. Immediately people are like, oh my god, Vivian Xu. So like, that the amount of juiciness seeps through quietly because she doesn't name any names, but it's just like, oh my god, that's Vivian Xu. And then that bit about, I hope you can live your life, honestly and be free of society's judgment. You're like, oh my god, she's talking about his gay rumors. So like all these things, like she plays on what the public already knows. She plays on the information that the public already has, which is he went to Vivian Xu's house in September and got caught for breaching COVID-19 regulations. He was for a long time embroiled in gay rumors. She plays on these things and brings it like in her letter, right? So it's very successful in basically making you think all the things that she wants you to think, right? So I think it's very well articulated. And not just the Friday expose, the speed at which she responded to Wang Leehom's camp. So the dad came out and she immediately put out a statement and she was like, look, man, why would he tell you if he was soliciting prostitutes? Why would he tell you if he was cheating on me with other women? Why would you know? That's very logical. Most parents don't know what their kids are doing. When your child is 45 years old, you do not have tabs on him, So very logical, right? Very, very good points that she's bringing up there. And she also talked about how so when Wang Leehom came out with his own statement, she also brought up like the divorce settlement. She brought up points like, she was like, specifically, let's look at this part of the divorce papers that you were talking about. And I'm telling you why it is not part of the divorce settlement. So again, it's very logical. And she's very fast. So like all her things, right, come out literally like hours after Wang Leehom's camp response, right? She will put out something that's extremely well argued and logical and well articulated. So it's great, right? Like she really, her crisis control is on point. She's like, yeah, okay, what have you got? What have you got? I'm ready, But Wang Leehom's camp is completely blindsided. Wang Leehom took 2 days to respond personally. And that response was, as I will get into later, really, really bad. So yeah, I think that's why it really blew up the way it did. Because as I said, Wang Leehom's public image is so far apart from what was seen in the expose. There were other celebrities involved, and also Lee Jinglei is just extremely well prepared, well argued, extremely confident. Her tone, right? Her tone is, I can only think of a Chinese idiom for this, which is 不亢不卑, which is like, you're neither afraid of feeling like inferior, but you're also not arrogant and condescending. She tread the right line. She really feels like through her tone, you really feel like she's somebody who has the moral high ground. Like she holds the moral high ground. The way she speaks, right, is as if she holds the moral high ground. Again, as I said, we don't know whether all of these things is true or not, or how much of it is embellished or what, but it feels like she holds the moral high ground. And that's the feeling that you get as a member of the public. And once you've won that battle of public perception, you've won the battle, right? And that's exactly what happened here. And Wang Leehom lost. And okay, going into Wang Leehom losing, I think, look, man, this was always going to be a tough battle for Wang Leehom to fight. But he also made some legitimately really, really, really bad PR moves that I think sealed the deal even further. Like he dug his own grave even deeper. So firstly, I think the whole saga peaked for me, right, at old man holding two pieces of paper. As I told my friend, the whole saga peaked for me at 老人与指. It's really like old man with the two pieces of paper is the peak of this saga because it is peak ridiculosity and peak like insanity because I don't understand why you have been famous for 20 years and you will make a PR move as bad as getting your dad to write a public letter for you. I mean, your dad is in his 80s and you are 45. Filial piety is a very big thing in Chinese culture. So the fact that you are at your age, at 45, you are unable to handle your own affairs. And the first statement that comes out is your father writing a letter saying you've been wronged and you've led a hellish life and, my son is not scum. I'm sorry. You are 45, you handle your own affairs. That is the point, I think, in which Wang Leehom really lost the respect of the public because he literally handed Lee Jinglei the chance to lecture him on filial piety in public. He handed her that on a silver platter when he let his father front him. I don't know whether he pushed his dad out. I don't know whether he forced his dad to do it. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the fact of the matter is, his dad was the first person from their camp to make a say. And that is just really bad, okay? The fact that your father, your aged, elderly father, had to come and try and clean up your mess of a marriage is just the worst, public perception move ever. It made him look so bad. And then his own response, as I said, right, Lee Jinglei was on fire. Everything was well argued, well written, well articulated. In contrast, Wang Leehom's response was firstly riddled with typos, okay? There were typos everywhere. Like 孩子, right? He wrote it as 孩子. So 孩子 is child, right? Children, child. Then he wrote it as 孩子, and 字 is the character for word. So it's the wrong character. And then it also had this insane typo which got picked up by Shopee and other people because it really got memed. So he got one typo which is 我愿意面对. And then his 面, right? He wrote it as noodles, that 面, instead of 面对, which is face, like you're supposed to face the truth, face yourself, face. So he wrote the wrong 面. And just for context, this is the traditional Chinese version that he put up because in simplified Chinese, 面, right, is the same character. Face and noodles is the same character in simplified Chinese. It is traditional Chinese that has the difference, and he used the wrong 愿意面对. Sir, you had 2 days. I expect a higher level of quality control here, a higher level of QC is when you have 2 days, you better make sure that there are at least no wrong words in your statement. He even typed his wife's name wrong, So Michiko Nishimura, so I studied in Japan, so I know a bit of Japanese. Michiko Nishimura or Nishimura Michiko would translate in Chinese as 西村美智子 because Mura is 村, which is village, right? 西村美智子. But when he typed the ex-wife's name, right, he typed it as 西春, C-H-U-N instead of C-U-N. He typed it as 西春, which is spring, the character for spring. So he typed his ex-wife's name wrong, more than once. So it's really oh my God, you really never QC your response properly. It's so disappointing. Not just that, the evidence, quote unquote evidence that he put out was so unconvincing. So he tried to tell us that he first met Lee Jinglei in 2003, right? But then they lost contact afterwards. How did he prove this? He proved this by attaching 2 emails that allegedly were sent in 2011 between him and Michiko Nishimura. And it says, Wang Leehom tells her, hey, haven't seen you in forever. And then Michiko Nishimura replies, hey, hello, stranger, long time. And this exchange, right, is supposed to prove to us that they indeed have been strangers for more than 10 years. I'm sorry, what? It's just like, as long as you are like an English speaker, right, you would know that tonally this doesn't really mean that you haven't seen someone. Like just because you say, oh my god, we haven't seen each other in ages, doesn't mean you have not talked to a person in 10 years. In fact, right, if you indeed have not contacted someone in 10 years, I don't think you will begin with, hey, haven't seen you in forever. I'm in NY. When are you around? I really don't think that is the tone you would take with somebody you have not contacted for 10 years. And I really don't think somebody will reply you, hello, stranger, long time. Yeah, I'm in Taipei now, but I'll be back in New York on the 23rd. What about you? It's way too casual and comfortable for two people who supposedly have not been in contact for 10 years. So I really felt like, do you really think like people on Weibo don't read English or don't understand English or don't have a good grasp of context cues? So it's just like bad evidence, right? He also never addressed Yumi, who, before his statement was released, came out, right, to say that they dated in 2012 and broke up in 2013 and was heartbroken when she found out that he was going to be marrying Lee Jinglei. So he never addressed the Yumi portion of this story. He also never addressed the Vivian Xu portion of this story. And he also, right, in the statement, did not apologize to his wife or his children or he only apologized to his parents because, yeah, really, he should apologize to his parents. You should not be making your parents do these things for you when you're 45. And yeah, it's also like very contradictory because he spent an entire paragraph, so the entire page, right, was like him talking about how much money he gave Lee Jinglei and then attaching like extracts of legal documents in which supposedly, Lee Jinglei got a lot of money from him. And then he finished that page by saying, but money is not the point. Sir, you just spent like a lot of words telling me exactly how money was the point, and then you tell me money is not the point. So it's like a bit contradictory lah, huh? And then the thing is, his statement also makes him look very weak. Because like his statement is literally like him saying that she forced him to get married, she coerced him to get married, he was very, very scared of her. Which like, I mean, emotional manipulation and relationships can be very difficult to pass and understand, but I find it very hard to believe that Wang Leehom at 37, which was the age he married her, at 37, being so successful and so famous at a time in his life, could be made to marry a woman like without his own free will, right? Like it's very hard to believe that happened. Like, and also, look, man, if you make a woman pregnant and she wants you to marry her, I think that's a pretty logical response to like accidentally getting pregnant. Like if a woman is like, hey, can you marry me? I'm pregnant. I mean, I'm not gonna blame her for saying that. Even if it was a short relationship, I get where she's coming from. Like she wants accountability, like she wants somebody to marry and have a whole family for her child, right? So like I kind of get it, right? Like, yeah, okay, that's not as great a defense as you think it is. So yeah, as I said, bad PR moves all around, and then finally apologizing after, trying to defend himself and failing. Look, man, it just looks bad. So, like, guys, I'm not at all surprised that he lost because, like, he's slow, took 2 days to respond. He freaking pushed his father out to the forefront, making everybody feel like he's a bad son and a bad adult who cannot handle his own affairs. And then he got so many typos, which, like, I'm sorry, I have to laugh. Then he attached, like, the most inane, like, pointless emails to his expose statement, whatever. So like, yeah, man, just bad moves all around. He looks like somebody who lost the moral high ground. He looks like somebody who doesn't have anything to say. He looks like somebody who doesn't have proof. So yeah, I mean, it's bad. So concluding this saga, what can we learn from all of this? I think as consumers, as audiences, listeners, readers, whatever, as people who consume entertainment, right? I think the most important thing is like to just keep a sense of cynicism. I've really talked about this more than once, which is that like you don't know people, like you don't know, especially you don't know the celebrities. Their image is packaged one, like like to put it in terms that sound very, very cold, celebrities ultimately, right, are products. Like they are selling you something. They are either selling you their skills, which is singing, music, acting, dancing, whatever, or they are selling you an image of themselves as a fantasy. So what you see, right, ultimately is not very real. And yeah, I guess that's why people were so shocked by the Wang Leehom thing, because his image seems so good. But ultimately, yeah, again, we don't know. We really don't know. And it's always good to have like a bit of cynicism when like somebody is seen as like perfect or wonderful or faultless, because there's really nobody is perfect. So there's no way that can happen, and yeah, we already know that image, it's all packaged. And I think the real important thing, right, for celebrities to do is when your public image is too far from who you are as a person, that's very dangerous. So I feel like actually if, like in some ways, right, I think Sholo didn't suffer as much as Wang Leehom because his public image is really not very good. So like it's already like that gap, right, is not very big. So you're already like, okay lah. I can sort of see that happening. So like you don't have that, I've held him in such high regard, put him on a pedestal, then he downfall. You don't really have that feeling, So in some ways, right, sometimes I really feel like if like a celebrity is a womanizer, he might as well just lean into the image of being a womanizer. He might as well just like, okay, I changed a lot of girlfriends. I like women and I enjoy seeing a lot of different people, and that's who I am, and I'm not getting married because that's the kind of personality that I have. I think if you start out with that sort of like image, right, I think people can like pretty much accept it. Like after a while, people are just like, oh yeah, he doesn't seem like a great dude to date, but at least he's honest about it. So I really feel like if your public image is too far from who you are as a person, that's when it fails. And that if you actually sort of calibrate your public image to who you are as a person, it doesn't have to calibrate 100%, of course, but if it is closer to who you are as a person, like people generally are okay with it. And also, again, I say this many, many times, celebrities are not meant to be role models. Like I really don't think they are meant to be. They are entertainers. They bring you joy through their work. And I do think that art, like music, like great movies and television shows have restorative power. I really truly believe that. And I think if celebrities do their job of entertaining me well, this is my personal opinion, if they do their job of entertaining me well, I don't really want to concern myself too much with who they are like in real life or who they are as people, as long as they don't like, rape young women, murder people, set people's houses on fire. Like as long as they hold like a basic sense of like not being a horrible human being, that's fine, To me, it's really when you sell an image of yourself as very, very nice and very, very wonderful or very, very clean, a quality idol, 优质偶像, right, as Wang Leehom was known as, and then that image is not true, that I feel like, yeah, you kind of had it coming though, because you like sold a lie, right, of yourself. And yeah, that's it. That's your dose of pop culture for this week. And, as I said, we were going to do a year-end roundup of the big things that happened in 2021. But instead, we had to do an emergency episode of Wang Leehom, who, of course, will now make it into our 2021 list. All right, so that's your dose of pop culture for this week. If you have anything you want me to talk about, you can reach me at janlee@sph.com.sg, or you can reach us at podcast@sph.com.sg. You can also find me on my Instagram at janleewrites. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today, and thank you for listening, and this was Jen Lee and Pop Vouchers. Bye-bye!
That was an SPH podcast by the Straits Times. Find us on Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts, or streaming on Google Home. Do feedback to us at podcast@sph.com.sg. You can also check out more podcasts on various topics at the Straits Times, the Business Times, and Money FM 89.3.